right. Well, speaking of videos, I think we have a video that we need to watch, don't we? So the Lord of the Rings Amazon series, we were going to watch something like this, or we're going to watch this video itself, I think, this week, but we were saying, hey, let's do this on the podcast. So it's like a title thing. So let's check out Lord of the Rings Amazon. Let's do it. This is cool looking. Is this meant to be like landscape?
Just smoke. Oh, it's a forge.
3 rings for the Elven Kings. Under the sky.
7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of stone.
In their halls of stone.
9 rings.
9 for mortal men. Doomed to die.
Oh, the water coming over for Doomed to Die. Mortal Men is pretty good.
1 for the Dark Lord on his dark throne.
In the land of
In the
Mordor.
land of Mordor. Where the shadows lie.
The Rings of Power. Ah, focusing on the rings themselves, eh? That's a good idea to do that.
It's like all the rings.
Yeah. So that
the 9
poem,
kings?
that poem right there is, it's what is inscribed on the actual Ring of Power that Sauron creates.
Eric,
But
I'm
yes.
not as impressed with you reciting it when there's subtitles.
I can't. Well, I can. 3 rings for Elven Kings under the sky. 7 for the Dwarf Lords in their halls of
We
stone.
just went through it,
9
Eric.
rings for mortal men
Too late.
doomed to die.
Too late.
1 for the Dark Lord in his dark throne in the land of Mordor.
So how many rings are there total?
With the I can't do math. Shadows lie. Hey, you know what? I can say that, but Christopher Lee could do it in black speech. He could do it in the language it was written. That's how good he is, or was, with Lord of the Rings. Ah,
Black speech, huh?
yeah. Oh, whoa, really? It's real? Okay, I want to see this. Oh,
It's not CGI, so it's like a real forge looking place.
I noticed that it seemed like just like wood grain. I was like,
Well,
is this
'cause
Oh yeah,
It
was,
looked like a forge.
Huh. Oh, that's fucking cool.
It's scaled up, but like,
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Dude.
It's so big.
Hell, you see that camera go by? That's
yeah,
sweet.
that's cool. I like that.
that's super fucking cool. It's so cool how fast they move the camera to make it move like that.
That's beautiful.
Oh, it's so fucking amazing.
Cool.
That's neat. I like that.
Huh.
That's great.
That's cool.
Thanks for that.
No, that makes that so much better. Cause like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The Rings of Power. I like the title because, I mean, I think one of the questions that I always got the most from casual viewers are like, so he's the Lord of the Rings, but like,
There's only
where
one.
the fuck are these rings? I see
Yeah.
the one, you know, the one ring.
I mean, they touched on it a little bit
A tiny
because
bit.
of the Nazgul.
The Nazgul, and a lot of people don't know that Gandalf actually wields the Ring of Fire. He actually has it. You can see him actually openly wearing it in the scenes when they're leaving to the west. But
So
Elrond's a keeper
this
of a
is
ring.
about all the other rings. That's not the one to rule all the rings.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I can't say for sure. That's what it kind of seems like that they're
Yeah.
focusing on.
But like the idea is like there's all these other rings that have power.
Yeah,
But there is one ring that was meant to rule those rings, and it's the strongest one.
And we
in
saw that
secret.
story.
Yeah, we saw that story. So I'm like
This
you
is
said,
telling
I'm
us the
guessing that
other
this is
stories.
the other stories.
Yeah. September 2nd.
Of this year.
Oh,
Okay.
Man, why didn't they put it in the-
I'm
in the
excited
video?
for that.
They probably
That's really
wanted
cool.
to keep their title sequence cool.
Nice and
Yeah.
right. They don't want to put a
And
digital
on brand.
Yeah,
they don't want a
that's
little
all
pop-up
like
thing.
real and stuff versus like
Yeah.
let me just put this in here digitally. So
I mean, I suppose they could have put it in the wood grain and have it cast along with the title, but
Sure,
no,
yeah.
it's cool.
like just a date, like numbers, just
sure.
No, I mean, even I got not hyped, but I got kind of like, you know, seeing these like elemental forces, what looked like on landscape, but when it said 9 rings for mortal men doomed to die, Numenor, fell into the sea, and you had water go over that landscape. So, Numenor, they're the race of men that Aragorn is from. He's long lived. He's more.
So it's not one dude.
No,
I was like, one guy fell in the sea.
No,
like, that
Numenor
sucks
is
for
a
him.
kingdom. Like when you go throughout Lord of the Rings, every once in a while you'll find just like these ruins, and that's the kingdom of Numenor.
Sure.
The first men that came from. Where is
that
like
like
the really
where?
big tall statues?
Yeah, the Agornath. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like where Ranger first meets the hobbits.
No.
And
no.
throws that torch.
Yeah,
into
no.
it.
There's a deep layer of
Because they don't cover that.
history that Tolkien threw into this world.
I don't feel like they
don't
cover
really
a
go
lot of that,
much-
especially in the movies.
No.
Not
Maybe in the
necessarily.
books. I don't know.
Like we watched the extended edition when we did our commentary. Eowyn asked Aragorn. She says like my uncle Theoden told me a curious thing. He said that you rode with my grandfather in a war, and he was like, oh yeah, he has a good memory. He was only a young boy then. He's like, that means you're like 80. And he goes 87. She's like, he has the blood of Numenor. They have a much more pure line of men, more kind of related to the elves than they are what men became. So there's a very rich history of heroes that we don't really get to see much in Lord of the Rings. It's kind of that's why they call it. There's the first age, the second age, the third age, and this is just going to be a whole nother part. I assume. Well, they released a picture of this series a long time ago now that you saw the two great trees of Middle Earth. And back then, Middle Earth is actually flat because the only light in this world comes from those trees. After, depending on what they cover and stuff, the god of this world makes it a globe and puts the sun and the moon in the sky because those trees are no longer there and can't supply light. It's a really vast history of cool stuff that I'm excited if Amazon goes into it.
And a god.
Yeah.
I didn't really get gods,
Yes.
in Lord of the
yeah.
Rings.
I mean, Gandalf himself is technically an angel.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like you get these idea of like magic and that kind of stuff, but I don't usually get the sense when I'm watching it of gods in the universe,
Sure, yeah.
Just more of like lore and magic and
Yeah.
like you can like imagine there is, but I don't feel like they really dive much into that,
Yeah.
Like, a Balrog, that looks kind of like a demon,
Sure.
but is it a demon or
Yeah.
is it just a creature here on this plane,
I mean, it's kind of like what Gandalf has in his mind what he would turn into if he took the Ring of Power.
Yeah.
Which one?
The One Ring.
The One Ring.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has a fire one.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't help you against a giant fiery monster.
No, not so much. Just give him something more to wield. In fact, I'm sure the Balrog would appreciate having that Ring of Fire.
No, there's, I don't know exactly what they'll cover because a lot of these events that we're talking about go over thousands of years, but it would be interesting. The 7 rings given to the dwarves were eventually all consumed by dragons, I believe, or just lost. The 3 elven rings were always kept hidden. We know where they are, and then the 9 rings given to men, we know what happened to them too.
Yep.
All became ring wraiths. So. No, the only reason I know that poem so well is because there's a clip in the behind the scenes feature of Lord of the Rings, and it's Elrond like saying that in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie, and he's so good.
Yeah.
So I always remember that. But
That's
no,
really cool.
I'm
September?
Yeah, that's apparently September 2nd.
That's really cool.
That's gonna be cool. I hope that it's a success. I mean, Amazon.
Maybe we'll react to it.
I might
Maybe.
enjoy it.
Maybe.
I've never played Shadow of Mordor or the games that came out. I've always been interested. I know they're a little lore breaking in terms of, Tolkien might not enjoy what they did in those games, but I'm good at separating my love for what he did versus what the movies did versus what these games could do versus what the series might do.
Sure.
If this is successful, I mean, there's nothing saying that they're even connected to the movies. They could be their own thing, and maybe
Sure.
it retells the movies at some point. I don't know.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
Eric.
Yeah.
I knew what the title of this was
Oh,
before
okay.
watching it, but I have heard that there's quite a few people who are annoyed with how vague the title is.
The Rings of Power.
Yeah. how do you feel?
I feel I kind of got into it before getting sidetracked. Like a casual watcher that knows that I'm into Lord of the Rings will talk about what are the other rings? They talk about it in the first part of the movie, and then it's never really brought up. I think that's a good catch-all for people to be like, okay, I'm finally gonna learn what the fuck that was.
Sure.
I love those movies, but I don't know what the fuck that was. So I think that's a good step into what this could be.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel like that's the fork in the road.
Yeah.
Now,
okay.
there's no way that this can be like after the movies and stuff, right?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know if like is there a way like
I mean,
those
the
rings
rings-
still
I mean,
exist?
the Rings of
and
Power
then-
would have been.
They
and
would
then
exist.
where are
but
those rings of power and what are they being used for after the fact?
The rings diminish after the one ring is created to rule all the other rings, and once it's destroyed, they diminish. So the three rings are still around, but they go into the west with Gandalf and Galadriel and Elrond, and they're not anything. They're not shit now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so the One Ring's made, and it's so strong that it controls them all, but once it's destroyed, removes all their power.
I mean, and hey, this might be stuff
It,
that goes over in the series.
Sure,
and you
that's
might not want to know
possible,
too
too.
much, but
So
I mean,
maybe not,
generally,
yeah.
and they say this in the movie, like Sauron is a deceiver. When he comes, he wants to learn about ring lore and how to increase his own abilities and powers, and he kind of secretly steals the NFTs of these rings, and now he controls them with the One Ring. That's his blockchain. Like, no, all this shit is mine now.
I don't.
Perfectly described.
I enjoy your attempt.
I had other questions I was going to ask, but I give up. I don't want to.
I don't think we're gonna get any
I don't
more
want to take
clear.
any further.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if they'll go about it explaining it that ways, but
Thank goodness you compared it to something else I don't understand.
And you said September?
September
September
2nd.
Yeah.
Man, that's when we penciled in Titan's reaction.
Oh fuck! I guess we'll have to push back Titan season
That's a
3.
shame.
Yeah. Yep. But no, I mean the ages of Middle Earth are very, very, very long. So
Yeah.
I mean, Gollum had the ring for 2,500 years just in the woods, in the mountain, you know, when it was missing.
Sure. That's a long time
It's a
to
long
have
time.
stories and stuff happening
Mhm.
and stuff, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I hope they have Tom Bombadil in it.
That's fairly recent, though.
Me too.
I don't think they're gonna have Tom.
Tom Bomb.
Tom Bombadil,
Yeah.
man.
That was his nickname.
They
in high
cut him
school.
out of Fellowship of the Ring. And towards the beginning of the journey,
Oh.
he's a character that shows up and
Was he like the 12th member?
No,
No.
he's kind of. There's a lot of fan theories about him that Tolkien scholars kind of disagree about, but there's a good argument to be said that he could actually be like God.
God.
Yeah, like the ring has no power over him. He can put it on his pinky finger and it doesn't make him invisible, you know? He's a really interesting character, but he's on purpose meant to. You don't have no idea who he is, what he is. He just lives in the woods near the Shire.
Interesting way
Yeah.
of talking.
Yeah, very interesting way. He has a wife named Goldberry, this elf. She was like a maiden of the river or something. I don't know. But at the very end of the story, Gandalf, who's finishing up his time and his work in Middle Earth, he's like, the last thing I gotta do is I gotta go have a good old talk with Tom Bombadil. And we don't get to see that scene, but I like to think it's Gandalf, getting a good job from old Tom.
He gave him a pony too.
Mm-hmm.
What was the pony's name?
Was that Bill? Or no, they just gave him ponies. Bill was from the first city that they were in, right?
Pony
he was
Bill?
being mistreated by that one guy, Bill the pony. And shit, what's the name of the first town, human town they come to? Bree.
Yeah.
Bree. Yeah. Anyway, there's cool little moments in there that I always say, read the book. The books are very fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Audiobooks would be good too.
Yeah, I could listen to Gollum read the book to me.
Oh yeah.
I could do that.
You can start with a Hobbit book. You can read that in a day.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
definitely.
short.
I could?
Yeah, it's a children's book.
Ah, cool.
Much
Yeah,
more so
it's-
than the other
It's
one.
not very long
All right.
at all.
I don't bother with the Silvermillion.
It's rough.
Yeah, the Silmarillion is basically just
It's a history textbook.
yeah. It's like all of his notes. It's basically like his show Bible. It's like all the things that if he ever needs to refer to them,
Here's the
they're
information I
they're
have.
these.
What was the name of the god? Here we go.
Yeah,
it's
like
like
that kind of.
reading.
It's like reading a dictionary.
It's like
Yeah.
reading the Old Testament.
It is. And towards the end, there's like a paragraph. It's like, and then also the ring came to this hobbit. He walked over here, threw it in the volcano, and that's the end. You're like, all of Lord of the Rings is like a paragraph in that book.
What?
Is how much history is in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of history.
It's like
Yeah.
playing Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
And like you're experiencing this little tiny bit of the world that's been built for you.
But I mean, I wish good luck to the people that are involved. I think that there's a lot of, if Book of Boba Fett had expectation, this is going to have a lot of expectation because you have characters in there that are almost like by definition, like impossible to show.
I
in a way.
imagine that we're gonna go back far enough where like you're not gonna recognize anybody from
No.
like the story, like
Well,
the Lord of the Rings
I mean,
movie.
there's-
So like if
there's
it's in
a
the
few
same,
people
Elves maybe,
Yeah.
Sauron maybe,
yeah, but I'm not gonna. I don't know.
You mean you might see Sauron not know it's him?
Yeah, I guess I'd be.
Doesn't he has like his Iluvatar form or whatever it's
Yeah.
called? Galadriel might be there, but I don't know if it's gonna be played by Kate Blanchett. I don't know if they recast. Elrond maybe. Elrond was there during that first battle.
Yeah.
The end of that age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you're going back before, I don't know. Maybe you're not going back before that.
Yeah.
but Maybe you are. I don't know when you're going.
Maybe they could bookend stuff. Have like Elijah Wood like writing like in the Red Book like there's more shit too.
Legolas is randomly in this one too.
Oh my God! He's running up a falling mountain.
I was gonna make a joke,
I haven't seen The Hobbit, but I've heard stories.
Yeah.
but then I was like, no, I don't want to put that bad taste in everybody's mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they put the amount of effort they did for that title reveal, then I'm very excited because that was really
Eric,
cool.
The title reveal is really good.
Yeah.
I'm
It was
glad-
practical.
Yeah, it was practical, man.
I'm
That's
glad
what
they
I'm
did.
hoping for.
I didn't think it was practical. I was like, oh, it's like a forge, but then it was just like this is what they're doing, and it's really cool.
Oh yeah.
I love seeing it. Reminded me of like doing the Death Star, like seeing the camera like just fly across the area that they're filming.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. No, I mean, from Lord of the Rings to The Hobbit, the big difference, one, it was time. Peter Jackson didn't get a lot of time to prepare because he wasn't meant to direct The Hobbit. But a lot of reliance on CG in The Hobbit that you're really missing the practicality of Weta Workshop from the first three movies.
Yeah.
I hope we return to that
Me too.
because I don't think anybody has said that the Book of Boba Fett is failing in that regard, right? I mean, having like actual droids, like just as puppets, like that's the kind of shit I want to see. You
Oh
know?
yeah.
Sure, yeah, lots of practical stuff, and it
Yeah.
looks really cool. All right, well, that's cool. I'm excited. Then we can maybe check that out.
I'm curious.
We'll get like a real trailer too at
Oh,
some
yeah.
point here in the next few months
Yeah.
to kind of get a better feel of where they're going to be covering what.
Yes, I agree.
You know, and that's the thing too is like maybe it won't. Maybe they'll be like they could do big gaps. You know, it could be kind of
There could be huge
how-
time jumps.
I mean, how long? Yeah, how long has the rings been around? Like you could have almost an anthology story of like here's a story involving the rings,
Yeah.
and here's another story involving the rings. You know,
Sure.
like
well, since
The rings are actually relatively recent in terms of like history of Middle
in
Earth.
terms
too.
of history of Middle
Yeah.
Earth, but they're still like 3,000
Oh, yeah, they're
years
very old.
old.
yeah. I
Over.
was gonna say you just said that Gollum had it for I don't know
2,500 years. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a long time. Like you could have tons of stories in
Oh,
that
yeah.
amount of time of him having that ring, and just be like, here's with the men, and here's with the elves,
And before that,
And
it was just at
whatever
the
the
bottom of a river.
dwarves are. You know, because
Yeah.
like aren't like you go in the mines, like you only see like Gimli.
Sure.
Like where's the rest of the dwarves?
I think. Am I right on that? Like, for
I think it was lost for
2,500
2,500 years. And then
It's in the river for 2,500 years.
Yeah.
So the river is the Lord of the Ring.
he's had it the longest.
I can't remember now at this point.
That's why you could see the bottom. It was
And-
invisible.
I need to study just Lord of the Rings. Now.
Let's see.
Sure.
Though the influence of the ring, Gollum's life was extended far beyond that of members of his clan. The
Yeah.
average hobbit's lifespan is 100 years, but a span of 556 years separates Gollum finding the ring and its destruction, by which time he was almost 600 years old. So he had it for about 550 years.
About 500 years.
So,
So
it would
was
have been
2,500 years in the river after Isildur if it
After
abandoned
it
him.
left him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Gotcha. See?
2.5 millennia.
for Lord of the Rings.
I like this.
That'd have been
This is a better
shameful.
answer, Eric.
Oh, what's that?
2.5 millennia. I
Millennia.
like that. That's a good
That's
answer.
a good
It
word.
sounds so much more than what it is.
Does
Yeah,
it?
but I like the way the narrator says it.
Millennia.
No.
Oh.
But 2,500 years.
It waited.
Was it Frodo?
No.
Oh, whose voice were you
It was a
doing?
woman's voice.
Oh.
It was It was Gladriel.
I was going to say, I
yeah.
think it was Kate Blanchett.
Yep.
Eons. I think eons is longer, isn't it? What's the definition of an eon?
Yeah, like what's 2.5 eons?
Yeah, it's longer than a millennium.
Yeah.
I'm sure
A billion
Stephen
years.
Colbert
Yeah.
wouldn't have made that mistake.
No, he would not have. Oh my gosh.
Have you ever seen? I just like sometimes just watch videos and it feels
He
like
has
I feel like I'm
encyclopedic
pretty
knowledge
damn,
of the Silmarillion.
Like I think I'm pretty damn good with Lord of the Rings, but when he talks about Lord of the Rings, I imagine that's like when I talk about Star Wars sometimes for people that have just watched the movies.
He's-
And I'm probably way more.
It would be so awesome to
Yeah.
have him just working because he's like, isn't he retired now?
We should have him join us
like,
for the
he still
reactions.
has- he
We
still
should have
has
him
his-
join us for the reactions of
Yeah.
Well, sure. For the
Power-
reactions, that would be amazing.
Rings of
but I
Power.
was gonna say,
That'd
like,
be fucking great.
have him on set that way.
Yeah,
Like, have him be the consultant
yeah.
for J.R. Tolkien lore. Just ask him, hey, what should this look like? Hey, who's this guy's name?
Sure.
And he'll just tell you.
He's the
Yeah.
Dave Filoni.
They
That's
talk
serious.
about Christopher Lee doing that.
No,
on the
he's the Sam Witwer.
They talk about Christopher Lee doing that on the set of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They said that he would just kind of like walk around and correct people, and they were like in suit and like in the costume, and they were like saying like it was like the ghost of Tolkien, like walking around and correcting us.
Yeah.
No, I really love that franchise. I wish them well and hope it does well. I know they
too.
had Wheel of Time on Amazon, and at the very least, Wheel of Time fans weren't happy with it.
Sure.
So I quite like The Boys, and from what I understand, The Boys does pretty well for Amazon, but they have a lot of money to throw around.
Yeah.
We'll see.